there. There we go. 3, 2, and 1. Well, Mayor Zacher, welcome back. Mayor's Monday here at WSAU, WSAU.com. You left us hanging pretty good last time around. You got something big that's ready to be unleashed here in Wisconsin Rapids, don't you?
Yeah, my apologies, Michael. I definitely wanted you to be the first, but just timing worked out the way it worked out.
Right.
But yeah, we were alluding to it last time that we were waiting for. I guess for me, it was probably the most amazing experience, and certainly I've been in negotiations. I mean, business is all negotiations, but
Of course.
to the level that this was, to the degree of going back and forth and trying to get everybody, basically happy enough to sign the bottom line, and that was pretty awesome. And we did do some, MR. So how this plays out is CRG owns the land still, so they're the company that bought it from Billerud. They bought
And this is
they
this
bought
is for the
everything.
mill. We should remind everybody this is for the mill right now,
Yes,
correct? The mill
sorry. This
site.
is
Yep,
this is
there we
all
go.
about the mill. Yeah.
Yep, yep.
So,
Yeah, absolutely.
CRG bought everything from Billerud. Billerud then bought their converting building back as like a condominium type situation where they're buying the building. CRG owns the land. And then Sunoco bought their building plus another couple of buildings and an outlier building and the water purification center. And then ND Papers bought the wastewater treatment center and the landfill. So now they're all working as like, it's basically an industrial park at this point where there's different companies, industries within the same organization, sharing services, working together, and they all have this really inexpensive electricity from Quebco. So those things have all been working well. So then CRG kept moving forward because there's the two big things out there still, which is the craft mill and then the 16 building. So focusing on the craft mill, which is where this news was at the time, was finding somebody because nobody was going to buy the craft mill and start it up again. One, the boilers were too old and the EPA said they would never give the thumbs up again. So that would have been a massive undertaking to make pulp, and the pulp is not in need right now for any projects or any products. So anyways, that craft mill was completely obsolete. So they hired a company or came to an agreement with a company called MRD out of Milwaukee. Jerry's the owner, great guy. They have a lot of good history, reputation for completing the projects, because ultimately that's our biggest fear is, getting halfway through the project and they have all the good expensive materials out of it and they take off with that and they leave the
Sure.
building half up, half down, and it's a mess and we have no money to take care of it. So in the end, they worked with us well, and they allowed us some concessions in order to be secure in that sense when it was all said and done. And now they are starting with the asbestos testing and removal, and it's going to be an 18-month project. Hopefully, obviously, there's going to be some wiggle room in there, but they will be taking out all the good stuff, knocking down the building, getting all the steel out, because in the end, the steel, like these buildings were built so well. It's just amazing what went into those buildings, the machines, the ingenuity of the people that built this, not just the owners of the plants, but the guys that really were in there building this industry. Was just amazing to see. So then they'll crush up the cement and make it into road base and sell that off. And in the end, it'll be at grade level. And new buildings are, getting ready to move in and build, or new industries to build new buildings and plug their machinery into the inexpensive power from Quebco. And we're building an industrial park, or CRG is building one, and we're
Yeah.
excited to be a part of that with them.
So to recap here, and I think I was keeping track in the mind. You've got about 3 or 4 different owners right now in this area. You got the ND Paper, you've got Sunoco. They've still got stakes in this area right
Yep.
now,
Yep.
and
Billerud.
the big building is going to be coming down. Is that correct?
Yes, it's the craft mill, so it's
The
the
craft
stacks.
mill.
It's where they made the pulp. So it was like
Sure,
I guess the big kitchen basically where they're cooking
sure.
up everything. And so yeah, that's all going to be gone. So there's going to be about 250, don't quote me on that, but like 250 acres of land that can be redeveloped, and you still have the train coming in, so they'll be able to develop spurs if when needed and be able to bring in that industry with good power. And then outside of that craft mill, we're looking at the 16 machine or building with the 16 machine in it.
Hmm.
And I've heard whisperings that, that may have been sold, but I can't confirm that at this point. So right now it's still in the works. But once that machine is out of there, which if you ever seen the building, it's like 6 blocks long and 2 blocks wide. That's how big the machine is. So it's not like that's going to happen overnight when that comes
Or
up. To take a side note, the 14 machine has been part of that contract with MRD to be dismantled and taken out and scrapped out. 16 machine most likely will be sold and reused somewhere else in a different country. And then we have the 16 building, which is a little tricky because it's such a big building built specifically for that machine. So you have the first floor is like 20 feet and the second floor is like 40 feet.
Mhm.
But it's a building that's built really, really well and is not going to go anywhere and has a ton of power in it. So it could be another 10 industries that move into that building that could work together, unless there's one specific one that could find use for that kind of a building.
Well, I people love beer, so it sounds
Yeah,
like a perfect area for a craft brewery, especially if you've got a building with a lot of character and a lot of space for barrels.
yeah. What's
Just gonna
yeah,
throw that out there.
it is amazing all the people that come to me with great ideas, and they're all great ideas. And I wish I could help make them all come to fruition. It'd be great.
Right.
What I will say though is a gentleman did call me from the community and kind of ran some ideas past about Microsoft or different companies. And I said,
Hmm.
well, this is kind of how this works. And I've just learned this in the last 5 months since I got
Sure.
in here. Is that when you have sites this big and power this big, we set them up and understand them at a city level, but they actually get marketed at a state level. Like there's a network for this where it gets marketed at the state level, which then goes to a federal level, which then goes to a worldwide level, because very few companies in the world are looking for something as big as these plots and the power and
Mhm.
everything that goes with them. So basically, anybody who has a match of this kind of magnitude, they already know about what's here and what's coming, and whether it's going to be one big one or smaller ones that divvy it up. There's a lot of desire for these sites because of what they are, and they're ready made between wastewater and pure water and electricity. Like everything's here ready to go.
Absolutely, and that's another thing that you can't overlook is that the state has those connections. They know what you've got. I'm sure you'll eventually have the conversations with WEDC too about maybe even getting this site certified as shovel ready, because 250 continuous acres like this with access to utilities at the level that you're talking about is definitely going to turn some heads.
Oh, absolutely. And for the most part, in 18 months, that craft mill, and there's a lot of outlying stuff that they're going to take with it. So it's going to be pure, it's going to be buildings, and it's going to be shovel ready for new buildings to go up. There is some discrepancies of like, if they want to go down into the ground, then we're going to have to talk about these massive footings that are still there. But we'll cross that bridge when we come to it.
And
So.
absolutely. And I was actually just talking about this with somebody else in the office because I said I know I've got to pry into Mayor Zacher today about this. Uh, there's also environmental industrial things because that site has been industrial for so long. But if you're just capping and you're not digging down any further, then that's a whole different area as well, because these are also types of expenses that will have to be thought about as you're trying to market this property.
Yeah, the reason, and that's why CRG has agreed to keep the ownership of the land so that the other companies coming in will be responsible for just the buildings. And they're not responsible for any of the land. So CRG is taking on a big responsibility, working closely with the DNR and the EPA to make sure that they are ready for new industries to be able to go on top of the land without digging down, because you're right, that opens up a different can of worms, although we don't really know what's down there. I mean, everybody is worried about it, but at the same
Hmm.
time, we don't really know. And in talking to Glenn Gilbert from CRG, you know, he's worked with other mills a lot of times. There, it's not anywhere near as problematic as, you know, people thought it was going to be.
But then there could also be a pot of gold down there. We just don't know that yet
Well, you
because
never, you know, there's a couple of landfills in here, and the amount of metal. I don't know if you know, in my previous job, I was a recycling guy,
of
so I
course.
understand the recycling world, and there's a lot of money in those landfills where they put in some metals and just kind of, because nobody cared way back in the day. I don't think.
Right. And hey, plus you've got Metalco right there. They can recycle some of that stuff on the spot
That's true.
if they tweak their machines right, I'm sure.
Well, and we appreciate now that you put a plug in for Metalco. You know, we appreciate them being here, and they're doing good, and they're growing and bringing on new employees and
Hmm.
building up their you know, infrastructure. So we appreciate them being a part of our community.
And that is the ultimate goal in all of this. I feel like this is something, you know, we've only been doing this since March, April, but we've kind of plugged ad nauseum is you want to diversify the workforce, diversify the offerings there in Wisconsin Rapids. So that way, then when something like this closes, when Verso shuts down, you're not as impacted as you would be because you've got a variety of employers there in town and a variety of good paying jobs that those other people can maybe plug into right away.
Oh yeah, like I agree 100%. It's going to be a diversified income between this industrial park here, and then I don't know if it's a good segue right now. There's another big project we're working on. It's kind of come through the ages, but ever since I moved here, when 20 years ago, I had people talking to me about the railroad track. Obviously, that comes right around and wraps around our west side on Grand Avenue, and
Hmm.
kind of puts a stranglehold on this whole big part of our community. And you know, trains can sit there for a half hour to an hour at times. You have emergency services that can't get through. You got another part where the middle school is, and you know, school have to start a half hour late sometimes or more because of the train. So right now there's a federal grant out there for track relocation projects or track separation, grade separation. And so as soon as we saw it, you know, I said, let's jump on this. And so everybody jumped on and put the wheels in motion to be able to get at first we were looking for a grant to grade separate, like build a hill with a tunnel for the train to go through. But as we were looking at it, it would destroy the optics of that whole area. And you have now this massive hill that you have to maintain. And if we did it, we would never be able to move that track. And that track actually crosses 10 different roads between our city
Wow.
and the village of Port Edwards. So, anyways, what we ended up doing was putting the brakes on that, switching gears and moving towards getting a grant to study what it would take to do a track relocation, because we have a viaduct on the far west side of this west side of the city.
Hmm.
And that's what it was built for, was to bring the trains in under that viaduct and bring them right into the industrial park. And then from there, they can get to the track where they do the interchanges or the change of, I know there's a word for that, but so anyways, that's what we're doing right now. We got, you know, talking to the Village of Port Edwards, the town of Seneca, the county, the state has given us a letter of support. We're trying to work with the railroad, CN Railroad right now, and get a letter of support from them. Also working because a big part of this is there is one industry that will be impacted, but it's also an industry that should be moved into the industrial park. It's, you know, but it's going to take money to do that. So there might be some separate grants that we're going to shoot for to help us relocate that business. Again, you know, they kind of have to agree to it, but I don't think anybody would hesitate if the money was there to relocate a company like this into away from a residential area. It would be a win-win all the way around. But there's so many moving pieces to make that happen. So we're working hard to get that together.
I just got exhausted here in the last 14 minutes. I mean, just talking about what it's taking to put this together at the mill site. Now all of a sudden, relocation of tracks. I don't know how you do this. Being new to the job like this, Mayor Zacher.
In the end, it's everybody else. You know, I'm a firm believer in who cares. You know, it's amazing what we're going to accomplish as long as nobody cares who gets the credit. Let's all just work together, put the pieces together, figure it out, break down the silos where we can, and really start putting the pieces together to, you know, there's so many services, there's so much, you know, government is great for its services, but let's get those services out into the community. Let's get them doing what they're supposed to be doing, and build this up, and build the spirit of the community, making our, you know, getting everybody excited, and, you know, really thinking, you know, I can do this. I can build a business. I can do my own business. And, you know, I was amazed to find out from the Heart of Wisconsin Chamber of Commerce that we have over 5,000 businesses in the Wood County area. Between Marshfield and Wisconsin Rapids, you figure that's 2,500 a piece or something like that. That's huge. And those are registered businesses. There's plenty of people that are doing business, you know, as a solo, there's a word for it, but you know, where you don't have to register right away.
Right. They're selling things on Temu, or, you know, wherever it may be.
Yeah,
Facebook Marketplace. There we go. There we
You
go.
don't have to register, and
Yeah.
people are making things happen, and that's the beauty of America. Like, you can dive in, and you can, you know, whatever you want to call it, side hustle or whatever you're doing to build your business. That's great. It's the beauty of a community, and it's what America is again right now. Like, the old industries are falling away, and we're building up new industries and new businesses, and it's so exciting right now.
So again, it over the next 2 years now, uh, let's say we're talking again in September of 2026. You've won another term, you know, in the office, of course, assuming that. What is this project going to look like? Are we going to have some pretty good progress, or is this maybe going to move at the, as we like to say, tongue in cheek speed of government?
Well, yeah. I mean, the nice thing about that is there's been people like that have tried to say, like, trying to say, you're kind of a micromanager. And I'm like, I don't think I micromanage people, but when it comes to getting stuff done, if it doesn't have a leader, somebody pushing and leading the way and follow me, you know, kind of thing, I don't think it gets done, because if no one's leading, then literally no one's leading the way. So if that's my job right now. How fast this can go is out of our hands, in terms of, there's lots of government stuff. You know, we have this other site where there was a foundry, and man, the state, you know, they got to go through their paperwork and get everything going. And I say, let me give them a call. Let me call. And they kind of say, no, not yet. But ultimately, yeah, as long as you keep trying to move things forward, that's all you can do. And don't get me wrong, I realize that all these things that are happening, and, you know, if there's excitement about it, I just want to stay excited about it and keep going, knowing full well that anything can happen. Like, I'm not in control of anything, and, you know, I'm just here to help make connections, build bridges, and do what I can to keep things in motion so that good things can come on the other side. So.
Absolutely. Well, Mayor Zacher, we appreciate the time. Again, congratulations on getting this across the finish line in your first 5-6 months in office. I'm sure that's a big accomplishment for you when you were finally able to close that deal and get that final signature, right?
Well, I was, but at the same time, it was Kyle Kearns and Sue Schill and Tim DeSorcy, and really everybody that played a part in just keeping that ball going, and, you know, nobody walking away from the table, and, you know, getting too angry and all that stuff. It was kind of poetry in motion. It was pretty neat to be a part of it.
Especially for somebody who's an entrepreneur as well, right?
Yeah.
Just this had to be, and again, just the last thing before I let you go, this had to be just a big thing of excitement for an entrepreneur like you to see what the possibilities of this could be when you were finishing that deal, right?
Yeah. It was very exciting. And again, I, you know, give credit to everybody that's allowed me to do this. My wife, my kids, the people at Express Recycling, you know, my brother Tim and Jeremy and Andy, who are the managers at Express Recycling, and everybody else that's there. We have, you know, 10 other people that are doing a great job, just to give me the ability to do this and be a part of it. I think is I'm very fortunate at this point. I have a lot of respect for everybody to allow me to do this.
Absolutely. Well, Matt, we appreciate the time. Look forward to chatting again next month.
Thanks, Michael. We'll see you again. Have a good day.
You too.